Hey, this is Jason from Nowhere Bounded. Thank you so much for tuning into this production by Podgility. Last episode was a narrative of my trip through Malaysia, and I announced the end of season 1, making this episode the finale. My trip through Malaysia was less about sightseeing and external adventure compared to the few episodes before. Instead, it was more of a relational journey that supported my own internal one. As much as this Nowhere Bounded journey may have seemed like nothing but a challenge of, well, heading nowhere, the real fruit continues to occur through the growth, navigation, and learning process of sustaining a creative pursuit. Today, you won't follow me anywhere in particular. Instead, I'll summarize a few of the insights I gained that you may find helpful as you navigate your own challenges, life, and adventures. As insightful as they were, there will be no interviews, but I will intersperse connective quotes throughout. Once again, I want to give a huge, heartfelt, and deep thank you to my listeners and supporters who helped make this journey possible. In only a month, with a few days of prep, planning on the go and no paid advertisement, I was able to reach listeners in over 7 countries and received my first few monetary contributions to support the show's production. I became friends with strangers within minutes and connected with travelers on their own journeys. I reconnected to people back in the US in new ways, and I began having conversations about what the future of the show could look like to achieve a greater impact and value to an even larger community of listeners. This production and journey was by far not an individual evolution, but the start of a collective one. The early end of my current trip throughout Southeast Asia is not a failure. It has been a continuation of successful experimentation and learning that will enhance my life moving forward. For this, I'm forever thankful to have taken a chance to step into the unknown. Thank you for your support. This is Jason from Nowhere Bounded. Enjoy the show. 1. Innovation is a utility. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. J.R.R. Tolkien. To the untrained eye, my trip could have looked like many things. For me, it was a deep life design and skills test after spending the year in a master's program that had innovation and media in the title. I figured, why not give my wildest dreams a go instead of asking, what if? The quote by J.R.R. Tolkien is often used by people with adventurous hearts. But as I've gotten older and life has gotten a bit more complicated, wandering is, maybe rightfully so, less accepted. One of the greatest gifts we can give back to others is within the utility of ourselves matched with societal needs. Fortunately for me, innovation is a utility. I spent my time creating, organizing, prospecting, problem solving, and more. It was personally fascinating and amusing to take job interviews in the late hours of the night and relay that I was in Southeast Asia. The first question that almost always came up, are you on vacation? My response always, no, I'm working on a few creative projects. Then I sometimes use my existing project as an example of self-initiative, grit, and ideation, all skills that are valued in a highly complex and evolving world. For some, using my project as an example was seen as an asset. For others, not so much. And I think that's part of the problem. We celebrate the end successes of creators, entrepreneurs, and innovators, yet the fine print details, the sacrifices, the struggles, and the cluelessness is often undervalued or overshadowed by the stories of large wins. There's a time to innovate, and there is a time for convention. Arriving prepared at the right moment with just the right opportunity window can decide part of that luck. This brings me to my next point. 2. Plan ahead and prepare. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. In episode 3, I briefly mentioned my tolerance for adversity and uncertainty, one of Noel's 7 leadership skills, as a strength. On the flip side of this being a large strength area for me, I also admit that more of the challenges arise when I don't plan something out or do very little of it. The spirit of the podcast was chosenly an on-the-go production in which I tasked myself to test my wherewithal to figure it out. Luckily, I had help when things didn't go my way, and my lack of plan didn't make up for my real material needs. Preparing for those challenges reminds me of the first of 7 Leave No Trace or L&T principles. I learned this years ago from my outdoor education experience. Plan ahead and prepare. More than that, I began drafting some concept maps for people who want a bit of structure for their journeys. Abraham Lincoln used sharpening an axe in his analogy, but it's the same principle as L&T. Being prepared aids us in being ready for upcoming tasks and challenges. 3. Magic can happen unplanned. Paradoxical to planning, serendipity holds much to learn from as well. To hear never heard sounds, to see never seen colors and shapes, to try to understand the imperceptible power pervading the world, to fly and find pure, eternal substances that are not of matter, but of that invisible, soul-pervading reality. To hear another soul and to whisper to another soul. To be a lantern in the darkness, or an umbrella in a stormy day. To feel much more than know. To be the eyes of an eagle, slope of a mountain. To be a wave understanding the influence of the moon. To be a tree and read the memory of the leaves, to be an insignificant pedestrian on the streets of crazy cities, watching, and watching, to be a smile on the face of a woman and shine in her memory as a moment saved without planning. Jan Stojanovich. There isn't even a need for the belief in serendipity for it to sometimes occur. For those who have experienced the real magic of it, they know it's not something we can plan or chase. We just welcome it by allowing ourselves to be. 4. Whatever your story, share it in ways you know how. My journey in season was about storytelling. Much of my life has been about not knowing how to start. And this quote says it best. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. Maya Angelou. I know why the cage bird sings. Whatever your story, share it in ways you know how. If you have no one to share your story with, then start by sharing it with yourself. Speak it to yourself. If you can't speak, write it to yourself. If you can't write it, sing it, dance it, move it out into the world. Martin Luther King put it like, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Your story matters, and I would love to learn more of it. The whole world would. Six, keep love close by. In addition to our own conviction, it helps to have people by our sides and love in our hearts along the way. Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Relationships and love took an unforeseen amount of time and space on my podcast and in my journey. Not everyone will understand your dreams, and there is a special place for the people who don't understand them yet still support you anyways. Value them, and get the other people in your inner circle to that point as well. They matter too, and connection does wonders for the heart. 7. Strengthen your core. Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with others without using them as a means of escape. Bell hooks. The act of slowing down prompted me to sit with myself again. Growing up, sitting alone was something I couldn't get enough of, and as an adult, I go through stretches of avoiding it by almost all means necessary. Through the forced slowdown on this adventure, I regained a practice of mindfulness, movement, and meditation that I may not have anytime soon otherwise. The slowdown allowed me to go back to the core of my basics as a person in the time of my highest needs. Through it, I expanded my emotional, spiritual, and physical capacity, allowing me to focus on doing my part and showing back up more healed for the people I love. Especially through challenges, find the tools that strengthen your core and allow you to move forward with the hard-earned wisdom. It was a challenge that strengthened my core, and according to Beyonce, if everything was perfect, you would never learn and you would never grow. 8. Life is art. Nowhere Bounded is indeed paradoxical. The stories mirror life. They're layered, inconvenient at times, surprising, and with moments of beauty and pain. So, for my last quote, I'll share an insight from my dear friend.
So, I guess the word life is an art, and art is life.
By Oli. This is Jason from Nowhere Bounded, and it has been an absolute pleasure. For one last time, safe travels.